Good morning. I hope you're all doing well today. For this video, I'm going to be discussing my very short fugue in B minor that I wrote sometime last year in 2018. And this fugue is nicknamed the Breakfast Fugue simply because I wrote it at breakfast. As a disclaimer, I did not write this at the keyboard. I just sat down at the computer and wanted to write something that was simple. And you could argue that it is a textbook definition of a fugue in the sense that the subject modulates to where it typically would in a normal fugue, and it doesn't really do anything beyond that. So the subject is very simple. Somebody on my channel mentioned that it has similarities to the fugue from the musical offering by Bach. Almost similar, except it's much shorter. And as far as tempo goes, it shouldn't really be played all that quickly. So let me just play up to the ending of the entrance of the subject in F sharp minor. So it's fairly simple. And after that, we travel into a sequence. And probably in music theory classes, you've studied Bach fugues and you've had to point out where all the sequences are, but maybe you don't know what sequences do. Sequences are, you can think of them as bridges in between connecting one idea to another. And sequences can sometimes lead to a different key. Sometimes sequences allow you to stay within the same key. It really depends on the piece of music. So let's just take it from the sequence at bar 3. And you could kind of think of it as two sequences within a two-measure distance, which I don't know if is really allowed, or I don't know if it's ever been done before. So let's just take it from beat 2 of bar 3. And after this sequence, we have the subject in the bass, which is very typical of a three-voice fugue, which this definitely is. So the counterpoint with the introduction of the subject in the bass, I find that in most of my fugues, I tend to have what they call free counterpoint, which means that the subject is still there, but the counter subject to the subject might change. And I don't know if there are rules on this. Maybe it just means that I don't really know how to write fugues. I don't know. But let's take it from bar 5 with the entrance of the subject in the bass. So there we go. It's that simple. We have three voices in a 5-bar span of time. And after this, we have a different sequence. probably got a couple notes wrong there. Sorry about that. So this sequence is getting us into the key of what? Into the key of D major. Because typically in a fugue, your subject has to travel between keys of the tonic, which in this case is B minor, and it also has to travel to the dominant, in this case F sharp minor. And fugues, the subject should be stated in as many relative keys as possible. So by relative keys, we mean within the B minor scale, you could have the subject in B minor, D major, even A major, F sharp minor. If you really wanted to stretch things, you could even have it in, I guess, both E major and maybe even E minor wouldn't really be out of the realm of possibilities. In a lot of Bach fugues, he definitely travels to many keys that are closely not related to the tonic. And one of my favorite examples is the E minor fugue, known as the wedge. And in that fugue, we hear the subject in D major. C major. Even in F sharp minor. So in this fugue, you could do almost the same thing. It wouldn't be impossible to play it in E minor. But as far as things go, I mean, it's a 15 measure fugue, which I don't know is the length of a fugue determines what if it's really that good, or is it how many keys you modulate to in ways that make sense. So let's take it from the D major entrance in the middle of bar 8. And the subject changes a little bit, and you'll notice that the counterpoint doesn't really serve much of a counterpoint function. It just serves as a harmonic function, really. And after this, we have another sequence that you can easily hear in the bass. Let's just hear that with the alto and soprano notes. Let's just start at the D major subject. So there ends our sequence. And on this E minor chord at the beginning of at the end of bar 11, you can take a breath. And the reason you can take a breath is because we're going to hear the subject yet again, but it's starting on the end of the beat instead of the end of the beginning of the measure. So let's just hear that. Sorry. this surprising cadence to G major is what we call a deceptive cadence. So deceptive cadences are points in a piece of music where you think that you're heading to the tonic, in this case B minor, and suppose you have something like, say, an F sharp 7 chord, but building up from the bass. In the case of this deceptive chord, it is a sixth in the key of B minor, which is G major. So you could build the tension even more. There's an F sharp 7 by landing your bass on B, and we expect the harmonies to be relating to B minor, but instead we get this G major chord. And what does that do? Certain cadences allow subverted expectations, and in the case of the Baroque era, where it's concerned with this idea of pathos and of emotion, you can say that this cadence to G major is very, it's subtly surprising, because from the end of bar 12, we have this movement here. And of course, it wouldn't really work to go to a full cadence of B minor, merely because the bass is moving in stepwise motion. And the reason you wouldn't end, well, you wouldn't, not that you wouldn't, but the reason that I didn't end on an E minor chord is because we already have this motion of E, G, F sharp, E, and why not fall to D? Because if you just re-strike the E, it just sounds boring. So making this a G major chord adds a new idea of quality to it. Now, interestingly, the technique of augmentating a subject means that the note value is elongated. And this is exactly what happens in bar 13. We have the subject given in quarter notes instead of eighth notes. And a trickier fugal composer might hide it in one of the inner voices. I didn't, because again, I wrote this at a computer, but I wanted to make it as keyboard playable, if that's even a word, as possible. So let's take it from the end of bar 12. Now all those sixths in the treble. I mean, you can't really play that fast, can you? And we end on a 4 of B. There's our E minor chord. So the technique of augmentating, or I think it's diminishing your subject, I don't know off the top of my head any Bach fugues that do this well. The fugue on Jesus Christus unser Heiland, in that fugue we hear the subject in one of the middle voices, but actually it might just be the bass, where it's given in half notes instead of quarter notes, and you really have to strain your ear to hear it unless the player has found a way to perfectly bring out that subject. So here we have, again, the subject, and the counterpoint isn't like anything that we've heard before. I mean, this fugue is essentially subject and free counterpoint. So let me just play the treble voice. And we end satisfyingly on a B major chord. So I hope with dropping the bass voice, you were able to further understand this idea of augmentation of a subject. So I'm going to play the whole fugue for you now, and hopefully without any mistakes. This is early on a Sunday morning, so I'm surprised I'm doing as well as I have been. So let me just play the fugue from start to finish. There we go. That wasn't so bad for 6:30 in the morning. So there we go. I hope that you enjoyed this video, and let me know if you want me to keep doing these discussion videos. Personally, I enjoy them, but like I said a couple of weeks ago, this is the first time that I've worked on doing these. So let me know if you liked it, and let me know if or what piece you want me to dissect next. I enjoy talking about my music when I know that I can do it well, and I'm planning on putting out more videos soon, and I'm still working on my concert preparation because that's a few weeks away. So I suppose that's it. So, like I said, if there are any pieces of mine that you want me to talk about, let me know, and I can work on uploading them or filming them and then uploading them within maybe the next week or the next week and a half. So I hope you all have a great day.